screen. I'm just happy I've got my... Hello and welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. James McKenzie here. I'm back on the show for the first time in a good few months. It feels like an eternity in the world of Celtic law, and I don't think I've been on since about March or April. Think back to what the narrative was around Celtic around March or
Was
April
that pre-haircut days, mate?
Yeah, that was still had the long mullet down to the down to the middle of my back. That shows just how long time ago it was. And I'm back on
What
it
happened,
feels like
mate?
ages. Oh, it was just
What happened?
I was always I'm in fourth year of uni now. I was always going to cut the mullet off, and the summer just passed. That was always the plan, and I decided to go for it. There's still remnants of it there to a certain extent, but the mullet is gone for the foreseeable for now. But enough about me. Let's get on to Celtic. I've obviously not been on the show in a while, Lawrence, so something that I want to touch on is just kind of thoughts on the season so far in general. I mean, if I'm looking at it from my point of view, compared to last season, this league campaign has been flawless so far. It's hard to say it hasn't been. We've been getting the job done in all the games that we should be winning, whilst also playing some fantastic football to go along with it. It doesn't look anything like last season where at points games that should have been an easy 3 or 4-0 win were becoming tough hurdles that were requiring last minute goals to get over the line. What do you think some of the biggest differences are that you've seen so far this season, Lawrence?
Quite a lot with injuries. Brendan's had more time with the team. Recruitment, you've got to take the hats off. You know, the players are coming good. Certainly, even the likes of Kühn is coming good. That you come in and win a transfer window, not too sure what a player he's been this season. The board have definitely backed Brendan. You know, he's went out. Don't know whether we've overpaid for either or not, but the manager wanted him, and the board put the money up. And the same way Engels, you know, he's looked class since came in. We broke a transfer record. The board are backing the manager, and whether that's because we've got more Champions League games, they're able to do that. They're able to speculate a wee bit more. Who knows? But you know, long may it continue. And listen, hats off to the guys that also moved out a lot of players who were sitting there doing nothing really. So it was good to kind of clear. I don't want to say deadwood, but you know, clear guys that weren't in Brendan's plans. You know, wish them well. And some of them made cracking money on. You know, so yeah, great start to the season. 100% in the league. You know, you look to Europe, disappointed away from home, but anything on the road's a bonus for us. If we win 4 home games, that's when the draw was made, that had to be your target. So, yeah, all going really well so far. Big test this weekend, Celtic Aberdeen. You know, do we have a true challenger for the first time in years? You know, they've won every game domestically. So, yeah, it's going to be great fun. 3 o'clock on Saturday, hats off to Celtic. Not taking the 75 grand for that fixture. You know how much would they pay in England for a top of the table class?
Our first 3 second winning start to the season, and that's all that can get stumped
75
up.
grand. It's a joke, isn't it? So yeah, hats off to Celtic for saying no. Because imagine the boys come over from Ireland, they've got the ferries and everything booked. Imagine they got a 5 or 6 o'clock kick-off. That's an overnight stay, probably. You know, would they got on the last ferry? I don't know. So yeah, all going well. So really looking forward to this weekend.
You touched on the transfers briefly. A wee touch on there was massive fees spent. 11 million for Arne Engels, a club record, signing 9 million for Adam Idah. Some may feel it was an overpayment, but due to how valuable he was to Celtic last season, I feel like any fee would have worked for Adam Idah. Even 6 million for Austin Trusty, who on paper, on the face of things, looks like a backup centre back at the moment, in the way the order of the team is. But with the amount of money that has been spent, that's a lot of big signings been made. The usual excuse that we make if Celtic fall short in the Champions League is that the investment hasn't been there. The money hasn't been there. Is that excuse, Lawrence, now gone when you look at this Champions League campaign because of the fees we've spent? Or do you think it requires year after year of spending these similar sort of fees to raise the level of the team?
Well, listen, spending them year after year will definitely raise the level of the team, but compared to the team last season, the football we're getting on the park, we look a better team. So you'd have to say the evidence of your eyes is that the quality of the team's been raised, but some of that's how long they've been together, how much work Brendan's got to put in with them, the style of play they're getting to. But yeah, it's over to Brendan in Europe now. You know, this is what he's been brought back for, to try and do something there. The home game, brilliant. Away game, not so much. You know, you've got to wonder. I get he wants to get in his own style, but I think we touched on it last week. Away in Europe, a Neil Lennon team's got more chance of getting a result than a Brendan Rodgers team. So it's maybe something kind of Brendan wants to have a wee look at and say, yeah, I don't need to make wholesale changes, but you don't need to let it get to 7-1 either.
Yeah, when you're watching the game, you felt like when a second or third goes in, you know that there's going to be a seventh goal at some point in this game. It almost feels like tradition. It's an annual event whenever Brendan Rodgers leads a Celtic team into Europe. And it's something that you've got to wonder, how do you stamp this out? Is that a mentality issue?
I think some of the players have got to take responsibility, you know, just play a bit closer, give the defence more protection. You know, but Brendan as well, you know, it's players and managers need to say, look, we need to be a bit more savvy here. And it is maybe just that the midfield being maybe 5 or 10 yards closer to the defence and saying to the front three, look, you've got speed. You're not going to get that much support from us, but when the ball comes out, make it stick and try and use your speed. Because certainly you can't go and just... I think was it 5 or 6 times we've lost 4 goals in Europe, and Brendan's been in charge for more than half of them. So I get the players have to learn, but at some point you need to go, look, this is 3-1 going on 10. Close up, keep this respectable.
Yeah, that's... hindsight's a wonderful thing, but when you look at going into that game, Celtic had just won 6-0 that weekend. We were all riding high in confidence, and we'd be wrong to say if we went through a little sense of optimism, blind optimism, or not going into this game. So it would be hard to really go in on Brendan's tactics, given we all had the same sort of mindset going into that fixture.
Yeah, no, listen, I think he's right to go for it, but Kenna was always at 3-1. This isn't working. We need some... And the thing Brendan's known for is in-game management. They just have done something better there. And maybe he was thinking it was down to his options. You know, Carter Vickers wasn't fit. Do we really have that kind of holding midfielder? You know, has anyone really replaced Scott Brown? Midfield with that kind of edge that can give proper protection to the defence. I don't know. You know, we've had a few players come in, you know, Awata, Abelgard, etc., and they've not worked out for one reason or another. So maybe the winter transfer window, maybe that's something that Brendan will look at. But, you know, it's the only blip in the season so far. So you kind of got to be positive. Anything on the road was a bonus. You know, you just got to go, well, we weren't expecting the 3 points. Move on. You know, come back. Tough away game against Ross County. Got the job done. It's I suppose the game against Aberdeen, you know, it's almost a free hit for Aberdeen, isn't it? They just want to be the best of the rest. And it looks as if they are the best of the rest with some distance at this moment in time. It's down to Celtic. And I was watching the Brendan Rodgers clip this morning saying, like, you know, we need to start fast and with big energy. We need to get the crowd on side and hopefully get an early lead. So I think if we take an early lead, we'll run out comfortably. You know, and Aberdeen will try to hold in, but they look dangerous. They've got goal scorers on their team.
Yeah, and just a wee point on that Champions League sort of campaign so far to close it off. Dortmund was the toughest fixture of them all that we'd outlined before it. We still have the winnable games in that draw haven't gone away. We still have Young Boys at home, Club Brugge at home. Even an opportunity to get something at Dinamo Zagreb away, there's still plenty of opportunities to make something positive and get into that playoff round at the Champions League. There's still plenty of chances for that. But it's 9 minutes into my return show. I don't want to go doom and gloom talking about a 7-1 loss to Dortmund that happened a few weeks ago now. We'll look a bit more positive. Usually early in the season, a comprehensive 3-0 win over Rangers would create that gap at the top of the table. But as you've mentioned, Lawrence, it's still there. Aberdeen have been the surprise package. They've caught everybody off guard so far with the way they've started the season. They took a risk going and getting Jimmy Tillin from Elfsborg over in Sweden. And he's brought a different style. He's brought some Scandinavian players over as well. The guy Keskinen on the wing has really been the guy that's caught my eye. I saw him playing against England during the week. And they got an impressive win over an albeit poor Hearts team as they came from behind in their last league fixture. How do you think they match up against us, Lawrence? We've seen things like this in the past, such as I remember there was a point where Hearts were top of the league by about October, November a couple of seasons ago, and we know how it all goes. It's usually the team falls away and the natural order, so to speak, resumes and Celtic come out on top. Do you think it'll be a case of that again? The narrative that is being built, whether people believe it or not, is going to swiftly get stamped out this weekend.
Listen, I think Celtic will win. 2 or 3-0 this weekend. I don't think that'll dampen Aberdeen's spirits. They know anything at Celtic Park is a bonus for them. They'll be looking to take something at Pittodrie. If they win all their other games, there's only 12 points between us and Aberdeen up for grabs. They're going to hope that the Champions League participation takes its toll on us. So they'll have a goal, get to the turn of the year, still in touch with us, still in second position. But if we were to lose any points, I think this is must win for Celtic. If we were to lose any points, imagine the lift that Aberdeen get from that. And imagine the glee in the Scottish press. So, yeah, I think it's must win for Celtic, but I think we'll do it easily, 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, it should be a routine victory when you're looking into it. We saw Ross County away. That would usually be a routine victory as well. We did make that a bit of a nervy one. And with the international break just happening, there is a possibility for that to disrupt momentum as well. We haven't seen Celtic's momentum thrown up so far, but that is always a possibility. There's big selection queries going into this game as well. We still don't know much about Greg Taylor with regards to fitness. So would you be fine with Alex Bailly playing at left back? What have you made of his time at Celtic so far? The appearances we've seen of them have been pretty brief, but there's been some promising signs there.
If it hadn't been for the international break, I think he'd have played the next game, based on his last game's performance. And Greg, obviously had that injury. I don't know how he's recovered. So I think Greg will be closer to start now. With that break's probably not done Bailly any favours. For me, I'd probably start by, you look great. I think we've brought him here to play. I know it's only a year's loan deal, but he's got a cheap buyout option. Don't know what's going on with Greg's contract, whether we've put one and he's not signed. Because, we don't want to be looking for 2 left backs in the summer if both of them were to leave. But yeah, I'd probably keep vying. You look good, and it gives us a bit more physicality in that position. I think. Greg might not be 100%, and definitely if he's not 100%, I wouldn't be rushing him back. You've got the option of bringing him off the bench at some point.
Yeah, then I want to go into the midfield. That seems like the real bit where there could be a real bit of a headache for Brendan Rodgers with who he picks. They've got a good few options there, some good headaches. Arnie Engels, an £11.5 million record signing. We've seen him do it so far this season. Ross County, he wasn't near his best that we've seen him so far. When you look at who the midfield three is going to be, you think Callum McGregor is going to be the nailed-on player to play in that midfield. It's about who accompanies him. Do you go Arnie Engels? Do you go Luke McCowan, who has surprised a lot of people with the way he's played so far since he came to Celtic? I saw a lot of people scoffing at the signing because it's a Dundee player. Dundee players aren't usually Celtic quality. And he's come in and he's looked not out of place at all, especially in league action. He's looked just fine. So you've got Engels, you've got McCowan, and you've also got Paulo Bernardo, who is looking like a bit of a steal for that price from Benfica right now. What would your midfield three be for that game?
Don't forget Hatate. You've still got him.
Yeah, Rio Hatate as well.
Yeah, I think, you're right. McGregor's absolute stick on. Engels probably plays, he's a record signing. He's looked good in the league. Wasn't stand out against Ross County, but not many were. We're a wee bit pedestrian until the subs. And it's who joins them out of Bernardo, McCowan, and Hatate. And for me, it's either Bernardo or McCowan. And it just for kind of, I'd probably go with McCowan. I think he'll create more than, and we're going to be looking to create stuff. I think he'd create more than Bernardo would. So, yeah, I don't know the last player we signed from McCowan. I know from Dundee, was it V Costa? We signed Endy since then. Or was it Jack Hendry? Did he come from Dundee?
I think was it not Scott Bain?
Scott Bain.
Was that from Hibs?
Yeah, he might have been Hibs, mate. What about Jack Henry? Was he Dundee?
Jack Kendry, he would have been the last. Yeah, Jack
Ah,
Kendry would have been the last signing from
but
Dundee. He didn't go too well. Luke McKeown's already started better
oh,
his Celtic career.
yeah, yeah, he's looking great. I think he's not looked out of place against Ross County. He was dropping some balls in a 6-yard box that he's got every right to expect a striker to go in. So yeah, for me, I'd start him. Start McGregor, Engels, and McKeown. We've got 5 subs. Brendan uses it really well. It gives him the opportunity to bring in Bernardo and Hatate on later on. But yeah, McKeown to start for me.
Yeah, and I think when you see Luke McKeown doing well, you're wanting to root for more. The big moments for McKeown feel a lot bigger because he is a Celtic fan. Do you find that the same, Lawrence? I would go back to this point. The wins under Ange felt good and all that, but wins always felt sweeter under Neil Lennon just based on the fact that you knew he was a Celtic man, you knew he was a Celtic fan, you could see how much it meant to him. Are you sort of the same? You like to see Celtic fans doing well for the club?
I was down at Leeds Irish Centre on Friday there, listening to Maka, and he was talking about Luke McKeown, and he was saying, look, see that smile? Because people were asking Maka, what did it feel like when you signed for Celtic? And he was like, well, see that young boy McKeown, see that smile on his face when he walked out? He said, that was me. So, it's what we all want, isn't it? It's a boy that's living the dream. Yeah, he's maybe a bit unorthodox route to get here, Air United and Dundee, but he's not looked at a place. He's already got a goal. He's got an assist. You just want to keep building on that. If you're to judge him on contribution, yeah, I think he starts. So it is better when it's a Celtic fan, yeah, that's doing well. You can, I suppose, you recognise more of yourself in them. But yeah, it's great for McKeown. Even looking at the back, Liam Scales has probably been a best defender all season. He's scoring goals for Ireland now as well. I saw University College Dublin going, it wasn't that long ago he was playing for us. So, and that Scales was under a lot of pressure. I think everybody thought Trusty's coming in to replace him. But attitude and work rate, he's holding on to that jersey. So, yeah, it's great to see Liam Scales do well as too. So, and he wanted to beat Aberdeen. He had a bit of a spell out playing for them. I think he was even playing in the Darvel game when he get beat, wasn't he?
I remember. I used to always go back to when Scales made his sort of renaissance last season. I was there. Easter Road's not far from my flat, so I had a free Saturday. Decided to go along to see. It was Hibs versus Aberdeen. It was a game dubbed the El Sacico. Jim Goodwin versus Lee Johnson. And I saw Liam Scales concede 6 goals, give away 2 penalties, and get sent off. And if you'd have told me that day that 4 months later he'd be getting man of the match at Ibrox and man of the match in the Champions League a month later, I would have laughed in your face. His renaissance has been absolutely incredible. But there's another player who's kind of made a bit of a comeback for Celtic this season from the level that people had him at last season. That is Nicolas Kühn. He looks like, right at this moment, the front runner for Celtic's player of the season so far. And I'm sure if you go back for the archives, you'd be able to find myself and yourself probably slating Nicolas Kühn, calling him a dud 2 months into his Celtic career. But we found out that he had, I think it was problems with his wisdom tooth that led to him losing a lot of weight. That was muscle he had to try and put back on. He wasn't at his physical best when he came to Celtic. And we are now seeing him close to the peak of his powers. Do you think the only way is up for Nicolas Kühn, Lawrence? What have you made of his start to the season so far?
Plus, he's been absolutely outstanding. He's got goals, he's got assists, terrorises opposition defences, domestically anyway. And yeah, he looks like a completely different player from the one that came in. As you said, he had his illness. None of us were aware of at the time, because I thought the first couple of times I saw him play, I'm like, geez, this boy's seen a football before. Does he know where he's meant to run to, what he's meant to do? But yeah, absolutely different player. He's had time to settle in as well. Wee bit disappointed in Dortmund. Thought he maybe didn't give the best account of himself there, but who did in our team? Yeah. So yeah, Aberdeen will know he's the one to watch. I've noticed he's picked up a few needless yellow cards in games here. kind of limits his game sometimes. But yeah, the speed of Kühn, Miera, and I'd probably start Kyogo up front. That front three against Aberdeen, really stretch the park. We can get quick turnover. We know Casper's good at that, the ball at defence. Even Liam Skills, the ball over the top as well.
Yeah.
So it adds that bit of variety to our play. We're putting them under pressure straight away before they've got set. So, yeah, Nicolas Kühn has been great. Makes you forget all about Jota.
Yeah, I remember there was a point in time I thought Luis Palma was going to be the man that was going to make us forget about Jota. It's funny how things have changed since then. I just want to have a wee look at the comments. I'm unable to bring them up on the screen at the moment, but I'm taking notice of everything you guys are saying. Thank you for getting involved. Brown Warrior, Celtic fans who become players who'll play through the pain barrier and burn through brick walls for the club they love. 100% agree with that. Michael Ross, Hatate hasn't lost his way. He just plays one good game and 5 inconsistencies to Rio Hatate's game. It is something that is brought up, but when he produces the extraordinary, it is the extraordinary. The urban culture. I think Hatate will move on. No game time for Japan. Again, we've heard him speak in the media in the past, Rio Hatate, about his sort of plans for the future of his career, where he sees himself. We've heard him mention Bundesliga, we've heard him mention Premier League. We know Brighton have been interested at points. It feels like Celtic are in a position where they could go on without Rio Hatate at the moment. We have the options available at our disposal to survive without Rio Hatate, but he is an important player who I'd love to keep around at the club. Just on Nicolas Kühn again, if you want to get involved in the comments, let us know. What players are proving you wrong at Celtic? Yeah.
Feels like we could do without him. Well, we managed to do better without Matt O'Reilly. If you said that last season, you know what I mean? So hats off again at the recruitment team. They're churning players quickly, making good profits. And we look a better team, which is weird. Without O'Reilly in it, we're actually looking a better team, considering the season he had last season, in terms of goals and assists. A record sale for us. So, yeah, I don't think, not that I want to see Hatate leave, but if he wasn't here, I'm sure that the boys that are in midfield could cope without him. And, if he is to go, it'll be another big money sale for us. So, another tick in the player trading model. And I'm sure Brendan would have an idea who would want in to replace him. But talking about guys who'd run through kind of the pain barrier earlier, but we should have maybe touched on KT turning up at London and at the Celtic charity event and having a chat with Brendan, because rumours are that he's coming back pretty strong, aren't they?
Yeah, I wanted
January
to
transfer window, would you take him?
That's the thing is with Kieran Tierney, the return has been fluttered basically every year the last few years, but the sources that are peddling these rumours are never the most trustworthy outlets. The exact sort of outlets that I'm talking about. I'm not going to name drop them, but we all know who I'm talking about. It usually seems like we're clutching at straws when it comes to a Tierney return until someone with a bit of credibility comes out and confirms the rumours. I'm not buying it. But we know the quality he can bring as a player. But I think it would maybe be a bit of a risk bringing Kieran Tierney back. The financials that could be required, combined with the injury record that we've seen of him, we might not even barely get to see him play when he would come to Celtic.
I don't think he's going to give you. He's not going to be a Cal Mack, is he? He's not going to give you 50 games a season. Maybe 30 games a season. Financial risk at how long's left in his Arsenal contract? It must be just about run out.
I'd have to. I hope someone in the comments can bring that one up for us.
You can maybe kind of weigh it off with big signing on fee and kind of 40 grand a week. Even at that, probably Kieran would have to take a pay cut, but I guess it depends what he wants. Does he want to come back? Does he not? But I think he'd be a cracking signing if he came back. You're not getting the 50 games a season, but if you can if he's fit for your big games, it'd be great. Another Celtic, another quality player in the team, and another Celtic fan in the team. And I think him and Brendan got on really well. So yeah, it'd be brilliant. But but we'll see come January, see what happens, because he's fit again. We'll see who else is interested in him.
Yeah, if it's a Kieran Tierney that's going to be fit every week, I think it's a no-brainer. Like that's someone you want, but you're not going to get that in the year 2024 or 2025, which would be when the deal would actually happen. But I think it might be getting fueled by the fact that there's no new contract for Greg Taylor yet. His contract is up next summer. What could be the hold up there with Greg Taylor? Because when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, in his entire time at Celtic, there hasn't really been much transfer interest from other clubs, if any. I don't recall seeing any transfer rumours or gossip about Greg Taylor potentially leaving the club over the last few years. So it makes me think, what could the hold up be? Is it money?
I don't know if I put
at the back of the club's mind?
Well, I don't know if I put a contract in front of him. Don't know if his agent's saying, look, you leave it, because come January you can speak to anyone. You should be able to, what's Greg, 27 now? You might be thinking this is your last chance of a big move. I don't know, maybe he fancies a point in England. Let's be honest, he goes to the Championship, he probably gets 40 grand a week. I don't know, he's probably 12 or 15 at Celtic. So he's got to look at that, Greg, and maybe they don't want to talk about where we're playing. Maybe they'll wait to January and say, right, these are your options. I'd hope the club are trying to keep him. Or if I'm not trying to keep him, Kühn's lined up plus someone else. Maybe it's Kühn and Via they'll look at. I don't know. It's a hard one because consistent performing for a number of Celtic managers. We've had loads of left backs come in and have not dislodged them. So you'd think that the club would give him a decent offer. I think he could probably get more down south. Doesn't matter, what we're off. They could get more in the Championship than we would be able to offer someone like Greg. So depends how much he kind of wants to play in 60,000 every second week in the Champions League every year. But hopefully we keep him, or the recruitment team have got a cracking plan of, listen, I've got Kieran Tierney coming back and a young left back as well, and that's going to be the way forward. But leave us a bit short in Europe, though, if Greg does go for the league trained players. So, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I thought it would have been protect our asset, get him to sign a contract and go from there. But I know there's been rumours all over the papers. It's injuries, it's fallouts. Who knows? I've not heard anything other than injuries. So wait and see.
Nobody really knows anything on that one so far. The tagline says why Nicolas Kühn can be the game changer for Brendan Rodgers. We've touched on Nicolas Kühn and some of the improvements he's made in his game, really in the final third, and his physical attributes, which we now know were limited by an illness that he was battling when he first came to the club. I think when you look across the board at that Celtic team right now, there is so many game changers there. And that is what I think makes this team so good at the moment. There's probably a player in every single position that you can outline. He can do something that could flip the game on the top of its head. And there's been players...
Looks for, isn't it? He looks for the goals spread throughout his team. He doesn't want to rely on one focal point of somebody that's going to maybe get 40 goals a season. He likes the opportunity spread throughout. And I suppose it's harder for other teams to deal with. Who's the danger in the box? Who's going to hit one? Is it Kühn, is Maeder, is it Kyogo, is Ida come off the bench? Is it Cal Max goals this season? It's great to see carrying that amount of danger, certainly domestically. It would be a real handful for teams. And you've got to think, too much for Aberdeen. You'd think we'd have too much. They would need everything to go right for them, I think, to get anything from the game. So, yeah, should easily be able to dispatch them. But Britain's got us playing really well just now. You touched on it. There's a lot of game changers. There's a lot of captains in the team that have got kind of that never say die attitude. Look at Bernardo at Ross County, just kind of winning that ball. He made it his, didn't he, over at the corner? He wasn't waiting for something to happen. He went and made it happen. He's won it, get the free kick, playing quick, and before you know it, Nicolas Kühn's got in and just put it in a bottom corner. What a finish. I think we knew that when he picked it up. He was just going to run at that defender and get shot off, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's something that if you were to go back to sort of the tail end of last season, you would have never seen Nicolas Kühn even attempting something like that or making that sort of move. It just shows the leaps and bounds he's come on. And I want to move on from him. I want to touch on the man on the opposite flank because I think he's gone a bit under the radar due to how good Nicolas Kühn's been this season. Dyson Maeda, I mean, what a season he's had so far. He got the scoring underway in the derby early in the season. And if you looked at that, I hate to go back to it, but that 7-1 loss in Dortmund, he was probably one of the only players that would come out of that with their head held high as well, just due to the sheer amount of running and pressing he does. But we're seeing in the league games, he's more than just a headless chicken running around the park. I can see his technical side of his game really improving as well. It's still a bit limited, but he's coming on from the man he was when he first came to Celtic.
Yeah, he's looking more dangerous in terms of goals. You know, his crossings improved a bit. I think it's still got a wee bit to go. But I think him and Valle could, you know, Valle starts, they could be really dangerous in that left-hand side of the park for us. You know, it must be hard for him. International comes, he goes back to Japan, he's playing a different role. He's playing striker. He's coming back to us, we're going right on the left-hand side. But I don't think anyone in Scotland can live with his pace or his pressing. So it's always a huge advantage. You know, he's got to be one of the first names in the team sheet. You know, he's a player that you can just rely on. He's never going to be less than a 7 out of 10. You know, you can just rely on him, put him in, never less than a 7. Which is what you need. You need that consistency of performance, don't you? Because you touched on Louis Palmer. I mean, what a first kind of 3 months to his Celtic career he had. Not recovered that form, has he? I know he done okay over in Sligo, but there's levels, isn't there? You're wanting him to reproduce what he had when he first came. I think his days are looking numbered. He's not really challenging Maeda on the left, is he?
Yeah, and
I don't think there's any doubt who starts.
When he comes into the team, he's not shown anything to really raise the question of, oh, he could come in for Maeda. He's not shown anything of the sort. I wasn't able to catch the game in Sligo. I was working when the game was on. Did you see it, Lawrence? Can you give us a quick sort of summary of what you
some highlights? Listen, it's just Sligo's. It's probably the biggest game a lot of the players will ever play in. You know, it's great for the club to take advantage of the international breaks. Jeez, God knows we're getting enough of them. To go over to Ireland, you know, especially Sligo, and give something back to the Irish fans. I know O'Neill's bar over there was packed out, so hopefully Connor and Neil in there was looking after everybody. But yeah, you know, Sligo were unlucky. You know, a couple of late goals with Palma, and everything's turned in their favour. But it's something the club should be doing more often. You know, I think maybe I know it's not first team players, but there was a mixture of players that some with first team experience in there, and it's great to get them over there to the Irish fans and kind of. I think Celtic at one point maybe the island to themselves, but since Sky came in, you know, rather than Celtic being the first team for a lot of people in Ireland, it's the second team. We'll have an English team and Celtic. So, yeah, great to get out there. Hopefully we keep it up, you know, acknowledging the Irish fans and giving them something.
Yeah, it's something you're hoping the club can do more often, maybe even a yearly thing. If it's something as simple as going over for a friendly during an international break, just the acknowledgement of those roots. We got to see a couple of young players getting involved in the game as well, much as we saw in pre-season. Francis Turley was the name that I'm seeing everybody mention. You don't want to hype up the youngsters too often because you got to remember, they're like 16, 17 years old. Not far off myself. They're only just getting started in their career. You don't want to hype them up too much, but he looks like a player who could be something for the future. Maybe the next prospect. We also look like we could be losing another prospect to a team down south. Celtic can't seem to stop the bleed of talent at the moment. There's the only way to fight that by giving them chances.
Yeah, listen, they get chances, and I think as fans sometimes we've got to realise they won't be quite at the level of some of the first team players. You know, it's going to take them, you know, 5-6 games to find their feet at that level. But Francis Turley's looked great any time I've seen him. Our Doyne boys signed a new contract. And yeah, listen, we lose some players to elsewhere, but what did Rocco go to Watford for? 23 grand a week. Celtic can never play that. And as
Was he
much as he
playing
was a
down
good
there?
prospect, he was never nailing down a position in the first team anytime you saw him. You're going, yeah, he's looked okay. Has he nailed down a position? No. Has he done enough to start next week? No. 23 grand a week, half of the first team won't be on that amount. So, just unfortunately, in money, we can't compete. You'd have hoped we could have kept Danny Kelly, but moved on. But I suppose, we do this to other teams as well. We want to take their better youngsters and move them here. I think it's just a symptom of the world becoming a bit smaller. The Youth Champions League, people get to see they're good youngsters. They're aware of them. It's not, they're aware of them long before they hit the reserves, never mind the first team. So, yeah, people will come in and try and pick them up. And then it's down to the player to kind of figure out what's best for their career. But, yeah, it's sad to see them go, but you're always going to lose some.
Yeah.
We've got a team at every age group, so it must be a squad of 20 odd at every age group. You're lucky if one's going to make it to be a Celtic first team player. So you're going to lose more than make it to the first team. It's just the way it works, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the players we lost who was in action last night was Ben Doak, playing for Scotland last night against Portugal. I wanted to just touch on the Scotland international break really quickly. Ben Doak looked really good in the Croatia game. The first match showed no fear, similar to when he got his first chances for Celtic, if you'll remember. And then the Portugal game last night, I thought it was a hard work, a good result, defended brilliantly. Someone who I thought was coming for a lot of stick playing for Scotland, some rightly, some wrongly. But I thought Anthony Ralston looked really good last night. Sitting back, defending back against the wall. There was one moment where he did get turned inside out and sat in his bum by Rafael Leal. But outside of that moment, I thought Anthony Ralston looked good. And I thought Scotland looked a bit of a threat in the counter at certain points. It's a good point and a good clean sheet against one of the best teams in Europe. But when you look at the Scotland team, usually Anthony Ralston wouldn't usually be playing every break for Scotland anyway. It's just because of the amount of injuries there is at the moment.
I said that the Scotland team, I'm happy to see Ralston get minutes. As long as we, international break for me is really about guys not getting injured. That's all you're hoping for. Don't get any injuries. Come back to Celtic fit. I think Tony must be due a testimonial next season. He's been around that long, hasn't he? Then he's another guy I think turned around under Ange, and probably he was written off. Started what was it under Brendan, in and out the team anyway, and loaned to St Johnstone. Didn't set it the header. Like Ange came in and what a renaissance. Probably kind of summed up Ange's team that one out of Ross County, and he's another guy. Attitude and determination. He's not going to let anyone take his place in the Celtic squad. Probably knows he's not Alistair Johnston level, but able deputy for him just now. Plus he's club trained. It helps for Europe, doesn't it? He's one of the 5 club trained in the squad.
Yeah, he's someone. I feel like you need those in a Celtic team. A player who they're kind of just fine being on the bench. They're fine being there. But when it comes to domestic games, you can call upon them. They're not going to come in and drop an absolute disaster classes. I feel like criticism of Anthony Ralston is often blown wildly out of proportion. He's not an absolute bomb scare that people try and make him out to. I feel like it's quite easy to do that with a lot of the local lads at Celtic, the guys that come through the academy. I don't get why, Lawrence. It's a lot easier for fans to criticise them.
It's just an easy target, isn't it? It's an easy target, I can remember going to seasons we were finishing 5th in the league and stuff, and you didn't have the win rate that we've got now. So I think as much as it was an expectation to win every game, before kick-off, we'd get away with dropping more points back in the day. Just now, it's kind of crucial when you've got, a second-place team like Aberdeen winning every game. There's a bit of pressure going on into this weekend. So plus maybe social media plays into it a bit. It's easy to just go online and criticise somebody, isn't it? Straight away, not many repercussions. Before you maybe talk about it on the bus or at work or down a pub, but it's easy just to gather a bit of momentum online, and all of a sudden he's the whipping boy. It's like Scales has been a whipping boy Greg Taylor, and we'd like upgrades, but you probably like upgrades in every position. But where we are financially, the makeup of the squad, I think you need guys like Ralston that knows what the club's all about, that's come through the ranks, that, other young players that are coming up can say, well, Tony Ralston's made it. He's definite Celtic first team player. Doesn't start every week, but it's got to give them hope that they can go on and do the same. He's had his trials, but didn't let any of it get to him, did he? He just kept playing and doing his best for Celtic, and that's what you want from him, isn't it? And it's good that he gets a bit of support back now. I think he's the days of getting a bit of abuse that have gone for Ralston. I think he's kind of won everybody over with just his attitude.
Yeah, he's as we were talking about earlier, the players who run through brick walls for the club. Anthony Ralston's one of them. Liam Scales, you mentioned him earlier. I want to touch on the season he's had so far. I know Carter Vickers has been injured, but it's probably maybe a bit controversial to say that I think Liam Scales has been our best defender, or at least our best central defender to start the season.
Without, you know what? I think going into Dortmund, gave us saying to Paul John, listen, I'm glad it's Carter Vickers that's injured and not Scales on what we've seen this season. The boy, he's continuing to grow. Listen, I'm still not convinced we don't need an improvement on him, but you know what? He just has made that jersey his own. How many centre halves have we come in and he's seen them off now? Scales is there. He's doing it on the park. He's breaking lines. He's getting better with his passing. Positionally, he still gets dragged out a wee bit, but he's got to learn for that. And work on it. And that's something for him and Brendan to work on and try and improve the player. But easily a best centre half. And he's doing it internationally now. He's getting goals for Ireland, which you always like to see. Yeah,
he's doing it the international stage. He's got a man of the match and a derby. He's got that, make it 2 man of the matches now in the Champions League. So it's becoming harder and harder to deny him being Celtic quality, or even him being the quality to start for Celtic. He's seen off, about 13, 14 million pounds worth of centre backs that have been brought in to replace him. I think it's about time we all need to recognise the quality that he brings to this team. There might be a mistake, as there is with all defenders at Celtic. Most of them do have a mistake in their game every once in a while, but he raises his game in the big matches. He fights for the club every game, and it's something that you've got to recognise, you've got to respect. He's someone who's really turned his career around at Celtic. A 6 million centre back giving him a kick up the behind, and he's started the season absolutely fantastically. I don't know if he's as good as he was towards the start of last season, but it's still been a very good going to start the season for Liam Scales. I want to go to the Aberdeen game this weekend. Again, a lot of the buzz has been made about Aberdeen because of the start they've had. They've won every single game so far. The game against Hearts was probably the first blip that we've seen in that Aberdeen team, but they still got over the line. Do you see them sticking around in this title race for the long run? I struggle to really sign myself to that. I don't see them sticking around for the long run. We've seen teams come into title races outside of Celtic and Rangers and fall away, usually around about December, January mark, when the fixtures get a bit too much, the results get a bit too much. Do you think Aberdeen are out for the long run, or will they start to fall away?
I think they've benefited from the League Cup, getting those extra games. It's like proper, it's better than pre-season, is it? They're competitive. Games that mean something. They did have a bit of blip against what has been a poor Hearts team. I think, is it only the Rangers that Hearts had taken points off of previously? So, just about anyone that's decent has been beating Hearts. So, bit of blip against them, but they've overcome it, and they'll get confidence from there. Can they hang into the end of the season? I wouldn't have thought so, but their goal is to hang into December and see where they can go from there. I don't know if they've got money for buying more players, but they seem to have identified a couple of decent players. The goals in the team. If they're at December and we qualify for the next stage of the Champions League, that's more games for us. You hope we'd go and invest, but we're midway through October. They've got to look to just get to Christmas and still be, a clear second. That's got to be their goal, second place, and it looks like they'll probably achieve it this season. how far away they'll be from us, I think, end of the season, I think it'll be double figures gap between us and them.
Yeah, the real question is how good really is this Aberdeen team. They've been getting the job done against the teams around them, but usually the real tell of how in the title race you are doesn't come until you play either Celtic or Rangers. And I think it should be a 2-3-0 win for Celtic, dare I say, this weekend. I don't think that's too controversial to say either. The real tell for the position Aberdeen are in right now will be when they play Rangers at Pittodrie. They've got them on a Wednesday night in a couple of weeks. That will be the real tell as to where Aberdeen are. Hopefully we have 3 points of separation or even more at the top of the table by then.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I'm glad we've got them at Celtic Park and not Pittodrie, because obviously they would prefer it there. But I think 2 or 3-0 will be fairly comfortable. But their big thing is, putting paid to the Rangers. Rangers are chasing them just now. I think it's fair to say that, that they've not had the best starts to the season, and Aberdeen have taken advantage of that. I think they'll probably, to beat us, they'll be looking to take 3 points against Rangers. And I think on a form of the two teams, you'd fancy Aberdeen to do that. And if they come out of those two games with 3 points out of 6, Aberdeen will be over them, and you're looking like, yeah, they're probably nailed on for second if they keep that up, that kind of consistency up. But we'll wait and see, mate. I don't think they're close enough in terms of quality. They would really need us to have a howler, and from there, everything to go right for them to take anything from us. James has dropped off for a while. We'll have a look at bring some of the comments in. So yeah, Brown Warrior on Liam Scales. Lazio targeted Taylor throughout, and Big Liam was on it. Yeah, absolutely. I think he has been outstanding for us this season, Liam Scales. Great against his performance against Lazio. So ideal. That was a quick change, Patrick.
I don't know. Can you hear me, Lawrence?
I can indeed. Yeah.
Brilliant. A late substitution late in the game.
I didn't even see the board squad, mate.
It was that quick. I'll bring James in. Let's see if I can hear James, because that was the original reason for me not being on. Let's see if I can hear James now.
I'm alive. I'll be fine.
I can hear you as well. This is absolutely tremendous. Good. What a 12 minutes we're going to have.
My laptop just absolutely died there for a wee second, but we're back. We're back now.
I think we're just talking about Liam Scales, weren't we? And I think we've highlighted already, or you two have highlighted, he's had a fantastic season. I mean, I thought he had a bit of a shaky start when we played Hibs at Easter Road, maybe a shaky half hour, but apart from that, he's been absolutely flawless this season. So I don't know if we want to come in that, James.
It's Scales. We're just touched on how he's been one of the main men for Celtic this season. I've been well informed by the comments that it's not a controversial opinion for myself to say he's been Celtic's best defender so far this season. There's so many players that really surprised us with the way they've played and the form they've had going in. I don't think many people expect us to be playing as good football we have this season as well. When you compare it to last season, where we're looking like every game looks at a potential hurdle that we could fall over. This looks a lot more like Ange's second season, whereas we're going into these games full of confidence that you can hit a team for 3 or 4 basically every week. It's just the European games is the real challenge, the real hurdle. It feels like Scotland looks like easy sailing for now, but the European games are going to be the real tester for us. There's games against teams that will be competitive, but we have the tools and the resources to go into these games and win. There's a massive opportunity here. I don't think it can be understated. We can't sing about it enough. There's games there that Celtic can win, and we can make real progress in Europe for once. It's just down to Brendan Rodgers and the boys to show the quality to go on and do so.
I think you're right, and I think, Lawrence, you mentioned earlier, that's probably why Brendan's here, isn't it? He's not here to win SPFL titles again, as much as that's your bread and butter, and that's your week in, week out where your joy comes from, but he's probably in here to compete in Europe. And I think if you're looking at the games, it's probably Club Brugge and Young Boys at home. You're looking to get the 6 and 9 points to try and get to the next stage. But I think you've got winnable, or certainly games you can take points from against Leipzig at home and Zagreb away. I think the upcoming game a week today against Atalanta will be a difficult test, but I'd like to think if we play to our best in these 3-4 games, and we can be competitive and we can pick up some points, I like to think we will finish in that top 24 spot once.
Yeah, listen, I think we'll win the remaining 3 home games. Might pick something up on the road, who knows? But I think 12 points will be enough to take us in the top 24. Hopefully, that gives the team a lot of confidence. 4 good. Hopefully, it's 4 good wins, and we can kick on from that. Will we go any further than that? No, we might get out the next round, the next fixture. But at least we've come out the group stage, and we've earned quite a bit of money. I know we've already got, I don't know, how is it you referred to it, Patrick, hunters in the bank?
Hunters are money. Hunters are money.
Hunters of money in the bank. And, the board seem to really be backing Brendan. So hopefully we see it in the January transfer window. Let's be honest, we're expected to be top of the league. In Europe, we've got that income coming in. Hopefully they do what they've done this window and back Brendan again. And we can kick on and, win another title and prepare for next season's Champions League. I think there's qualifiers though, isn't there? Qualifiers next season.
I think that you were likely to have at least one playoff round.
That's provided we don't win it this season, isn't it?
Assuming we don't win the Champions League, we will have a playoff round to play, and that's assuming we win the league. But I think, once we dispatch of our closest title rivals this Saturday, I'm sure we'll be in pole position to go on and win the league. I think coefficient and all that, obviously a lot of games to be played across Europe, so we might end up with more than one qualifier. But I suppose all we can do now is, do as best as we can and pick up as many points, coefficient points, and then go on and win the league. And I think we've got a good enough squad, assuming there's no changes between now and August to go on and win any sort of playoff round that we have to enter. I sort of made that point in the summer that we're not just building for this season, but we're probably building for any qualifiers we might need to play at the beginning of the following season. But I think we have put ourselves in a good position. I think Brendan's got a good squad. And just looking ahead, I think you've touched well on the Aberdeen game. I think it will be a tough game, but I agree with the both of you that, I fully expect to go on and win that game. They've had a great start, a few sort of late goals. I think their keeper's had an outstanding season, but I fully expect us to go on and win that game. James has dropped off again.
I think he got his laptop from the bars, mate. I think it's just kind of that's what it is.
You wonder what else he's got on that laptop. That's my main concern, Lance. What other videos he's got on his laptop. But anyway, I fully expect us to go on and win that game and put ourselves 3 points clear. And he's already touched on the sort of left back position. Greg Taylor, maybe Tierney will come in January.
I think Vi keeps his place, and if he does well against Aberdeen, it might be hard for Taylor to get back in. I don't know what the impasse is over his contract. He's been brilliant for us. He's been first choice left back for a number of managers, but I think at one point or another they've all looked to bring in another left back. Whoever they've brought in just hasn't been good enough to take over from Greg. Although I see Bernaby, we might actually get some money from him. Scored a goal at the weekend. He's played 10 or 12 in a row in Brazil. So, at least we may get some money back for him. But if Vi comes in and does well against Aberdeen, I think Greg's going to find it hard to get the jersey back.
Totally agree. I've been quite impressed with Vi since he's had a run of a few games, and I know Barcelona gave him a year extension. I think that's so he has a year left at the end of this loan, and they don't just lose him on a free. So, whether they want to keep him long term, it doesn't look to me as if that's what they want to happen. I think they're maybe just hoping for a fee at the end of this loan, which if he keeps playing the way he's playing, as you say, I think he will probably get the nod against
I
Aberdeen. It
think
should be interesting.
is it a $4 million buyout fee or something he got for signing that new contract? So I think you're right. I think it's just
All
to
right,
get the
okay.
fee, isn't it? I think there's kind of a buyout fee in there. Not, anyone could take advantage of that, unfortunately. Not just us, but hopefully if he's come here and done well, you want to stay. At least for a season or two. But Greg's been so good for us, but if Via does well against Aberdeen, Greg will be. I think it'll be an uphill struggle to get the jersey back, especially still, if there's still an impasse over his contract. Look what happened with Danny Kelly. We didn't go pre-season. Brendan says, look, can't take him pre-season if he's not signing a contract. He's just not going to be part of the plans, and maybe that's what. I think Ange had that attitude as well with players, wasn't it? You're either part of it or you're not. So hopefully Greg's contract gets sorted out, but if not, kind of move on and build for the future. And Vaya's only here for a year, but if he does well, hopefully we'll keep him.
Yeah, hopefully we are, at least one of the clubs that reaches that 4 million buyout. And I think, if there's a few clubs that reach it, it will be up to the player. And
He could spend some of that on
another.
us.
He needs to spend some of the hundreds of money we've got. But I think he's another player who's come in and he's been in awe of the size of the club. That everyone knows that Celtic are a big club, and this is what surprises me. They come in and it's even bigger than what they think. Obviously,
What's Mark
60,000 seater
Process been doing
stadium.
over there, mate? I thought he'd have been round telling them all. I don't know why it's still a surprise. I think Process should have been in telling them, giving them lectures on it. But obviously not.
I'm always surprised how many people come here and are still shocked. I mean, obviously everyone knows, or just about every player knows who Celtic are and their history, but it's amazing how many come in and are still quite surprised. If we have a preview of the Atalanta game, I don't think you and James have spoken about that yet. I mean, obviously it's up there with Dortmund as one of our tougher two games. Luckily, Dortmund's out the way. But I mean, Europa League winners, a couple of really good players. They've been building under that manager. I think Gasparini's his name, for 4 or 5 years now. I don't know. I don't think they're quite up the top of the table in Serie A at the moment. I think they're getting better, but I think to keep it respectable, to be honest, if we can sneak a draw, we can sneak a draw. That'd be brilliant. But I think keeping it respectable after the nightmare in Dortmund would be a bit of a result. And then, as you say, focus on the home games, because after this, you've got Leipzig at home, Bruges at home, Zagreb, and then Young Boys.
Yeah, I think anything's a bonus. It'd be interesting to see if Brendan changes anything at all. And this, makes us not as open. You can still play your football in that style. You can just be a bit tighter defensively. Can't be having losing another 5 goals in the road. That would just be disastrous. Brendan talks about the players having to learn. Sometimes that's got to apply to the manager as well. You can remember Lenny tennis to Lazio and Edward scoring and winning over there. On the road just now, that looks a wee bit beyond us under Brendan. And he needs to get kind of a bit more pragmatism. Kind of recent successes on the road, maybe not so recent, but under Lenny and Strachan, there was a more pragmatic approach, especially away from home. And I think kind of Brendan's got to, temper his approach a bit. We're not saying change it wholesale. We're not saying, park the bus, but, just be a bit more switched on defensively. You've got to play the players that's in front of you. We're not playing SPA FL level players. You're going to have to adjust and be a bit better defensively than you have to be in domestic matches.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think to give Neil Lennon credit, we looked compact, we looked solid. Obviously, you're playing good teams, they're going to have plenty of chances. And we did get a few big results under Neil in his first and second spell. But certainly in Dortmund, I thought we looked quite good against Bratislava. We've obviously looked fantastic in the league. He's made this point about counter-pressing and respecting when the opposition have possession, and you need to work hard, you need to really stay compact and try and win the ball back quickly. But in Dortmund, I feel as if that all fell away. And I feel as if we don't have enough control in the game when we've got the ball, and we look so easy to play against when we don't have the ball. It was similar to Leipzig, actually. My only 2 European away trips, both in Germany and both, it felt like the same performance, really. Just 2 teams gliding through our midfield, and just, I mean, Dortmund was ridiculous in that first half. They just scored every chance they had almost. But
The players have got to take
I,
some responsibility. When it's not working on the part, they can take it on their shoulders to change things quicker. Listen, it was the biggest game of the season, Champions League finalists from the previous season. And I get there's a big step up for the players on that level, but it's a level we've got to kind of get closer to. And to keep going and lose 7, it's another big defeat. You'd want to go, listen, this is at 3, don't lose any more here. Close up, try and play compact here. At least if you can play that kind of compact and you haven't lost anything over the 3, you could go, well, look, we've got away. They were not losing goals against Dortmund now. Can we take that wee bit that we've learned into the next game? It was disappointing, mate, but it is what it is. And I think that's just about time. And we've not even, I was going to say Strachan and Hartson, mate, because Strachan got some results, but I don't know if that's sold out at bad. You need to go on the link down below. I think Paul John says I've gone to the Acsom site for Strachan and Hartson at the Barras, or Johnny Collins, mate. Johnny Collins at Gracie's. The man that he was the first player we lost under Bosman, wasn't he? Monaco. The scorer of the goals that led to Jerry Watts to score. His Predator boots scoring at Ibrox. What a midfield in the 90s, mate.
It's a shame that we never get more success. I think, for a lot of those players, it would have just been the 95 Scottish Cup after the 6-year drought.
10 and 6s as well, mate.
Of course. How could I forget? I'm not sure. I've got a funny feeling that is sold out on the 25th. If not, there'll be very few tickets left available. And, we've both been to these nights, Lawrence, and I'm sure plenty of people watching just now have been. I mean, they're fantastic events. I can't make it to next Friday's event, but if there is tickets, I would definitely recommend people snap them up if you can. And as well as John Collins, I believe that said the 1st of December. That's on. So before we finish, I'll ask you for your predictions for the weekend. I know you are confident, you think we'll score early. I'm going to go for 3-0 myself.
I'm the same. 3-0, and Valle to have an absolute cracking game and make that left back position his own.
I'll go with that. He's on a good run of form, and let's hope that continues. Thanks to Lawrence for joining me on this Wednesday, and thanks to James
before I go, mate. I've got an emergency bin, right? I've got 2 green bins, so when I get really busy and one's full, I can put 2 out. And I was putting 2 out last week, and the bin lorry pulled up and the boy shouted us over, and I thought I was going to get into trouble for putting out like 2 bins instead of 1. But it's not. So a big hello to Sean, the bin man, that covers Cameras Line. He was always shouting over to show me he just put Acsom on his phone, and he was listening to the pod as he was doing his work. So hello, Sean, and thanks for letting me have 2 bins.
Brilliant. Well, hello to Sean as well. So yes, thanks for joining me, Lawrence. Or I've joined you in effect, and thanks to James for hosting. I had thank you. I had mic issues for the first 43 minutes, but I got them resolved for the last quarter there. And thanks to all the viewers, over 400 strong still after an hour. And thank you for listening to Wednesday's Acsom Bulletin with a Celtic State of Mind.